Download my free legato course right now and learn to play fast in the fastest way possible. It's 4 core exercises that you need to focus on in order to reach the highest level of mastery. And then I'm going to give you the 3 sub-skills of legato. Once you master these 3 little skills, then the overall skill of playing very fast runs using hammer-ons and pull-offs will be very easy. So go sign up right now and get immediate access for free. See you in the course. Hi, soloing. There's one thing that puzzled me enormously in the beginning, and that is, how do you actually create cool lines over the chords in the background? And the first reply, the first answer was just to use the pentatonic scale. That's what we are given, when we try to... Because those notes kind of fit a lot of chords in the background. But once you really want to go a little bit more advanced than that and get some new tools, you are faced with the challenge of figuring out what notes to use. Because if I have a chord progression in C, for instance, I have the C major scale, which consists of 7 notes. Those are all the white keys on a keyboard. And if I build a chord from the first note and take every second note from that first note, C, I get a C major. If I then go to the F and build a chord from that, I get an F major. And those are still the chords of the C major scale. And I can do the same from G, and I can get a chord there. So we have 7 chords in the key. This is very rapid explanation here. But let's say I play these 3 chords. They all come from the C major scale, and they all share the same notes of that scale. So if I play these 3 notes, or 3 chords, and they run in the background, and then, okay, now I play the C major scale. That's my tool here for improvising. Hear how each note sounds good there, good also, not so good. This just sounds, that's good there, not good again. That's just so good. So each note sounds differently over the course, and so it's no longer a tool where I can just go. This is the pentatonic scale, the C major pentatonic. It's much easier to use, but it has that pentatonic sound that some of us want to get out of at some point, right? And then we want to use the other notes. How do we do that? Well, what we do is first we discover what a melody is. What is a melody? Well, a melody fits the chords, right? If you have a melody and you have chords in the background, the whole point of the melody is that it fits the chords, or the chords fit the melody. So, what is that relationship? What is that relationship between melody and chords? Because if we know that, we can do the same thing when we're soloing. We can create melodies that fit the chords in the background. And that insight is very basic, and that is that a melody is simply walking from chord note to chord note. Imagine you have these 7 different notes, and imagine a keyboard in front of you. All the white notes or keys are the notes of the C major scale. And then you take every second key from the C and play that. That's a C major. Then you can take every second key from the D, blah, 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 and then you have a D minor, and then you get 7 chords up there. And so if you play the C, you have 3 notes there. And then the melody is basically starting on one of these chord notes and then walking to one of the other chord notes. So crossing one of the notes that are not in the chord. So if I have the C major here, and I have a C major in the background, right? I have a C major in the background now, and I have these 3 notes playing simultaneously. And that's the chord. But I also have that note in the scale. I also have that. I also have that. And I have that. So those, we don't want to, now I don't want to create a melody with all the notes in the scale that are not in the C. It sounds like a modern piece of some kind, right? But if I play just the chord notes, then it sounds kind of boring, right? And what we need those two elements for, now we have the notes that are in the chord, we have notes that are not in the chord, but in the C major scale. Those that are not in the chord sound kind of, there's a tension there, right? But we love that as long as it is replaced or relieved by not tension, which was, right? Which was all the chord notes. So I have to go back and forth between tension and relief, or relief and then tension and then back to relief. We love that, us human beings. So let me start on a chord note, which is basically just already playing in the background, right? And let me then go to another chord note so we get another note of relief. That's the fifth, that's the third note in the chord. And let me then use the note in between, which is, right, which doesn't sound that, oh yeah, it sounds like you don't know really what you're doing. But let's use that as a passing note between the two. So, chord note, tension, aha. Isn't that amazing? So again, chord note first, then tension. I can play it just a little bit faster. And don't know if this is, I think these strings are a little bit old, so it's slightly out of tune, but or the other way around, we can do that again. Cool, right? And so let me do that again. Let me pick that fifth, that third note, and then I take two notes that are not. Take this one, tension, right? Doesn't sound that good. Major seventh, sounds kind of jazzy, because it is. But I'm going to take these two, and then I'm going to go from the fifth and then up to the root, the C, right? So, this is no tension. I'm playing the same thing as in the background, so I'm basically home, right? And then these two, right? So, start where there's relief, then move out into two notes of tension, and then back to relief. Okay. A little bit faster. We love that. And suddenly, the notes that are in tension doesn't sound that dissonant anymore. They don't sound as ugly as before, because now we're going somewhere. And we love going somewhere as human beings. We love going to a better place. But in order for there to be a better place, we need a worse place, right? And the worst place is the tension, is the drama. Oh my God, we're out in the open space now. Let's go home now. Let's. That was nice. Okay, I hope you get my point here. Sorry to dramatize it that much, but that's the whole point of a melody. So if you have a melody in your head and you want to put chords to that, then the whole discipline of doing that is trying to listen for chords that has the notes of the melody in them, and then on the right places. So we usually start and end on a chord note. So we go da 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 da, and I rest on that chord note. Da da da, right? And I begin on the chord note. Sometimes I don't. There are always, deviations to the rule, but that's the basic rule. So how can we use that in improvisation? Well, by using arpeggios. Because what is an arpeggio? It's the notes of a chord played separately, right? So if I have a C major here, I have the notes of that. Right? If I know those notes, then I can easily put notes in between them, so I have that shape on the fretboard. Because I just take a little thing there. I'm going to show you this close up in a second, but I have the notes right there. See? That was the C major. Let me say I'm playing a D minor now. That's also notes from the C major scale. It's just the second step of the scale. I build a chord from that. Still the same notes of the C major scale. As I have that, I can play lines now that sound D minorish, because I can use the D minor notes from the C major scale and focus on those, as we talked about before. Hear that? You don't even need the chord, because now I'm putting my emphasis on. So if I just. every time I begin and end, it's on a chord note. And I use the other notes, it's tension. So we stay at home, start at home, and then we go out, and then we come back at home again all the time. Tension and release all the time. Okay, so what am I getting at here? Let's look at arpeggio mastery. Let's look into how could we actually utilize this to create some really cool lines by using arpeggios. But that requires us to look closely at the fretboard, because now we can all agree upon that if we have this C major scale and we want to play over the C major, it would be a really cool idea to know where the notes of the C major chord is. Because if we can do that, we can actually control this totally and completely, because we can walk from chord note to chord note. But that's not the end of the story, because how do we actually get to that point there where we know where the chord notes are, and how can we utilize, can we put up a system of learning this so we can go from chord note to chord note? And I have a very specific system for that. So let's look into that, and that would be in the next video. So either click the link, or if this is just coming out, you have to wait till tomorrow, but stay tuned and I'll get that video ready for you. So, or click the link if you're a late comer.